Now, what could an alternative look like? That's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Okay, so an alternative is where you don't have to create as much content because the content that you're already creating continues to work for you. The content that you're already creating is evergreen. It lives beyond a 24 or 48 hour window like you typically would have in social media, right? So what you would see over time is that you don't have to create as much content because what you already have continues to work for you. It continues to attract people. And an alternative like this is only possible when you have something similar to an ecosystem where you've got lots of different interlinked parts that work to introduce your brand and your offers to the right fit client. Okay, so in a nutshell, what exactly is this ecosystem that we're talking about? I will break this down for you in just a bit. Okay, so an ecosystem is a network of not just content, but offers as well. Okay, offers that you have that deliver consistent messaging to attract, engage, and nurture your right fit clients through the customer journey. Okay, now why is building something like an ecosystem all the more necessary and important right now? Okay, because the internet, okay, the online space is a mature marketplace. It's not what it used to be like 7 years ago or 10 years ago. There is no novelty, right? There used to be like what you would say a membership or a course gold rush, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. That rush, that gold rush is no longer there. Right? So there is no novelty when it comes to the online space. You're dealing with an audience that's a lot more mature and a lot more aware. These are people who have likely bought before in the online space. These are people who have purchased either coaching or consulting or digital products. They know what it is that they're buying, right? And there is no shortage of content. There used to be a time when people would say, keep creating content, have a couple of posts out every single week because you need more. When you have more content, you will attract more of an audience, but that's no longer the case. Okay, there is no shortage of content out there, which means whatever you put out there has to be all the more intentional, all the more strategic. Okay, it has to help you stand out. Okay, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So how can you start building a self-sustaining ecosystem where everything is linked, where you have a system in place that continuously attracts, engages, and converts the right fit clients? Okay, so this overall brand ecosystem, you have a few different parts. So take in this diagram. There are a few different components here. Okay, so a brand ecosystem, you have your content ecosystem, a product ecosystem, and then you have your nodes. So I'll be walking you through all of these different components. Okay, starting with the content ecosystem. Okay, so the content ecosystem, you have a few key components, right? You've got planning ahead, high value content assets. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on these two components, but I'm going to spend more time on your point of view as well as your customer journey. Okay, but these are the 4 components within your content ecosystem. All 4 have to work together for you to fully kind of realize the benefits of a content ecosystem. Okay, now what are people already doing? All right, so people are already creating content. Okay, people are already having content boundaries in place. All right, so if you are familiar with my work, it's very likely you would have read the book, The 1 Hour Content Plan. So the 1 Hour Content Plan is all about putting in place content boundaries, right? It's about coming up with content buckets or content categories. It's having boundaries in such that people know when they come to you, they know that, hey, okay, this person is known for this, or this is what this person's business is about, or these are his or her core expertise, areas of core expertise. Okay, so this is what people are already doing. Okay, people are putting in place content boundaries. People are creating content. But the question that we have to ask here is, what happens beyond content boundaries? Okay, and is this sufficient today to get people to want to work with you, to get people to want to buy from you? Okay, and the answer is no, because like I said, the online space is not what it used to be. There is no novelty. You're dealing with a lot more mature and an aware audience. So you cannot just create content by having content boundaries. Okay, so typically what you would have are two mistakes that people usually make. All right, mistake one, they don't send content, okay, that takes people down the customer journey. All right, the content that they typically create is very how-to focused. They are mostly around tips or talking about pain points. They would say, you are struggling with this, and this. I have perhaps a solution. Okay, so it's very how-to heavy, very tips heavy, they don't really know what needs to be said to take someone down the customer journey. So I've thrown the word customer journey out a lot. You may have heard of it. I'll talk to you a little bit more about what it means in just a bit. Okay, so this is the first mistake, and you may realize that, I am only sending how-to or tips-based content. All right, and if you're sitting there and you're like saying that's me, you're not alone, because this is typically the mistake that people make and the type of content that most people engage with, because it's the easiest to do, right? And it's what we've been taught to do. Create how-tos, that's what people are looking for. But like I said, the space has shifted, which means your content has to shift as well. So how-to and tips-based content, yes, they are valuable, but this is not enough today to convince someone to want to work with us. Okay, there are so many other things that you need to be addressing, or your content needs to be addressing, right? These are a few things that your content should be doing. You want to let people know if they've been looking at things in a wrong way, or perhaps there is a better way of looking at things. Okay, you want people to know that, hey, this is a different perspective that I'm sharing with you, and perhaps you've not heard about this perspective before. Okay, you want people to kind of rethink why things are the way they are. If there have been tried and tested solutions that everyone keeps hammering in the space that you're in, and you disagree with that, then why is it the way that it is? And what is that alternative? You want to share your process, your framework, or your methodology. And typically when I share this with clients that I've worked with, most of them would be like, it's all in my head, Mira, this is the way that I usually do it. And they don't, and they never realize that there is actually a process or a methodology or a framework that's there. These are things that you want to let people know about. These are the things that you want to bring out in your content beyond the how-tos and the tips, because those aren't very effective anymore. Okay, now the second thing is this failure to actually understand what is needed to inch someone down the customer journey. Okay, so what exactly is this customer journey? And what does your content need to do to move people down this customer journey? So you may have heard of the customer awareness spectrum. Okay, if you're familiar with my content, it's very likely I brought this up through any of my books or even on my blog posts. Okay, so people have different stages of awareness, right? There are some people who are unaware that they have a pain point that needs to be solved in the first place. There are others who are aware that they have a pain point, but they are perhaps unaware of the real reasons behind that pain point, or perhaps they are unaware of the solutions out there. It's very likely that they haven't really started shopping around, okay, for a solution. So then you have people very similar to people who are problem aware. Okay, they're aware of the problem. They likely also maybe know of the real underlying reasons. But again, they haven't started shopping around. They don't really know of the best solutions that are out there. Then you have people who are solution aware. These are people who know that they have a pain point. They have probably purchased something before to help them solve this pain point. Okay, they have shopped around, but they perhaps aren't fully satisfied with the solution that they bought into. They're looking for other solutions, or they're looking at solving a different aspect of that pain point. Okay, and at the very end, you have people who are the most aware of the problem. They also very likely know that, hey, okay, this is a solution that I want to buy, and that solution is yours. Okay, so you want to get people down wherever they are, whether they are in 1 or a 2 and a 3 or a 3, you want to get them right down to most aware, which is at stage 5. Because when they are at stage 5, that is when they are the most receptive to, what it is that you have to say. They're most receptive to wanting to try out your process or framework or your methodology through that offer that you have. But how do you get people from 1, 2, 3, or wherever that might be, right down to 5? How you do that is with your content. And that is what the customer journey is. Okay? And this is where your point of view and your messaging architecture comes in. You can't use your how-to and tips content to get people from stages 2 or 3 right down to 5. Your how-to and your tips content is just a very, very tiny sliver of, this larger content suite that you should be having. Okay, so this is where a messaging architecture is very, very important. And most of the people that I work with don't have this in place. So a messaging architecture, okay, are key messages that need to be communicated about an offer. Okay, these are things that someone needs to know and believe, okay, sorry about the typo, to make a decision about the offer at hand. Like I said, the messaging architecture is what you need to move people down to being most aware and receptive to want to work with you. What it is that you do need to communicate about your offer? What do you need to share so that people get to that point? Okay, that is what your messaging architecture is about. Now, when you combine that with the point of view, that is when you really have content that stands out. Okay, and having content that stands out today in the space that we have is very, very important. Okay, because like I said, there is no shortage of content. So your content has to work harder to stand out. So what exactly is this point of view? Your point of view is basically your take, your perspective, and how it's different. What do you contribute to the space? Okay, we are all adding literature to the space through our content. Okay, so when you add that literature, how is that different from what is already out there? Or what can you add on to the space, okay, that you're in? What is your unique way of getting customers or clients results? What is this framework? What is your process? What is your methodology? Yes, it's all in your head, but I assure you the way that you do this, even though there might be a few different people, doing the same thing, I assure you your process, your framework, your methodology is unique to you. Okay, the way that you take clients through this process is unique to you. Okay, who do you think are the villains? Okay, because when you talk about the villains, when you talk about things that you disagree with or you maybe despise or you don't like, that is when you show them your point of view and you give them an alternative. Okay, what beliefs need to be shifted? All right, if someone believes that your offer would never work for them and you don't shift that belief or you don't get them to think differently, they will never be receptive to your offer. Okay, when someone thinks that there's only one right way of approaching this and you don't shift that belief, then they will never be receptive again to want to work with you. Okay, so all of these are things that can trigger thoughts of wanting to work with you or wanting to buy from you. And you have to do this. You have to bring all of this out with your content. All right. So I'm not just talking about emails. I'm talking about whether that's social media or whether that's through a video on YouTube or even if it's through a podcast episode that you're doing. Okay. So we spoke about the point of view, we spoke about a messaging architecture. All right, we spoke about the customer journey, two very important points in your larger content ecosystem. Now, I just want to touch and go on the last two components. One is planning ahead. All right, again, if you've read any of my content, this is something that I speak about again and again and again. All right, planning ahead is when you want to look at your marketing calendar, whether it's 6 months, 3 months or 6 months, and you want to say, okay, in month 4, this is what I'm going to be doing. Okay. And what you want to do is, based on the goals that you have, you want to create a campaign. You want to be able to look ahead to month 4. Maybe it's April, and you want to say that I need to be creating content around this because my goal is perhaps to pitch or launch offer A. So all of my content has to feed in the messaging architecture and point of view that will allow someone or give someone the space to make a decision about offer A. You want to be able to look at your calendar and kind of look ahead and say that, yes, this is the content I'm going to be creating in month 4 because it makes sense and it fits my goals. This is the content I want to be creating in month 2 and because I'm going to be doing this. This is what planning ahead is about. So if you take this system of planning and you merge your messaging architecture and your point of view and the customer journey, again, what you're doing is creating a very, very robust content ecosystem. Okay. Now, again, the next component is high value content assets. So like I said, you don't want to be creating content that lives for just a 24 or 48 hour window, right? Now, high value content assets, the things that live beyond, things that are evergreen. So these are your evergreen sequences, your email courses, your self-published books, your SEO optimized content, any evergreen workshop or sequences or masterclasses. These are the things that you want to build, and these are the things that will continue to live on in your content ecosystem. Okay, so very often people don't have many of these, all right, because they are just so stuck on this social media hamster wheel, and they don't realize that they don't have high value content assets at all. So I'm not saying that social media is wrong, okay, but you have to understand that it has a very short lifespan. Okay, so you want to be creating these kind of content assets that live for you or continue to work for you. Okay, so we spoke about the content ecosystem. We spoke about the components of the content ecosystem. In my next video, I will be talking to you about the product ecosystem, all right, and how it kind of fits in to this larger brand ecosystem that we're building. So I'll see you in the next video.